Good morning, grinders. Welcome to the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka Blender Ed, Blender HD. If you want to follow me there on Twitter, and it's Casual Friday. It's Casual Friday, where I answer your questions. We talk about random stuff, random things. I show off some things with Lineup HQ. Maybe I got one thing planned today. I'm going to show how you could use your own custom kind of projections. You'll see what I'm talking about to help you build leverage into your lineups. I'll help you to build low-owned lineups that you should be playing a GPP. So I'll show you a little bit of that. But as usual, I talk to the YouTube chat people. Suki Singh, not always here first, but most of the time here first. Giving me those thumbs ups, give me those thumbs, ups, downs, sideways, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to know when we go live. Lee Palm, Pug Daddy, Jerome Lewis, Matt Mears, Andrew Garcia, Card Ban, Doug Montgomery, Lee Palm, Mike B, Eric Hillpole, Dwayne Bones, Uncrabby Cabby. Good morning. It's not a good morning for me yesterday. Yesterday was, the Braves got there. Well, that's the end of the slate, right? Obviously, they were the mega chalk yesterday on a 5-game slate, Coors, and yes, Soler had a home run, and Duvall had a home run, right? All these guys. Riley did well, 16. I mean, Freddie Freeman you didn't need, but I mean, 7 points at a first base spot wasn't bad, right? I guess Colin Moran you would have wanted, but the chalk pitchers really didn't do well. I mean, they didn't do badly, but Carrasco and Alcantara both with 13. The nut lineup was Erod and Keller or McKenzie. You had 2 of those. You needed that to win. And I did have Keller and I did have Erod. I just did not play Tristan McKenzie. I only played like 10 lineups yesterday. And I played like 3 Tampa Bay lineups and also 3 Erod lineups. I played some Indians, and then I also played like my minor also. And I played the Marlins against Chalk Carrasco. That was okay in the beginning, and then they didn't really go anywhere. I was building like 5 3s and 4 4s. Cash some, but I mean, I lost money yesterday because I was light on the Braves. I didn't play the Braves as a 5-man stack. I primarily played them as 3. I would play like Vogt at catcher because the lineup came out late. So we saw that, like, okay, Albies wasn't in. He wasn't expected to be in, and then he was expected to be in, and then he didn't play. And then Peterson wasn't in, and Rosario was in. And instead of Darno, it was Vogt. So he had to do some late swaps, some swappy swaps from there. But, I mean, most of my lineups were like Riley, Swanson, Vogt. Or have one of the outfielders, right, instead. Have Duvall or Soler or Eddie Rosario. Or maybe 2 of them. I was using them as 3-man. Same for the Rockies. Used them primarily as 3-man. So I would have Blackman, right? I had Blackman in one lineup, but didn't get there with like the Marlins or something. So no, I did not have a good day yesterday. I would have rather the Braves not gotten there. That would have been better. But we see here Piano Club just like, nope, don't want to, one lineup, Austin Riley in one lineup. No Braves. Let's see here. Nerdy 10. Barely any McKenzie. I still have plenty of Braves. But still mostly under. And there were a couple of sharp players that just like overloaded on the Braves. But for the most part, Most were under to some degree. And over on Erod. Keller over on, I mean, on a 5-game slate, how is Mitch Keller only 12% owned? Same for Erod, 13. While Carrasco and Alcantara are both 40+% owned. McClanahan was 28%. I don't know how eventful of a slate it was yesterday. It was only 5 games. It was only 5 games. Let's go through the YouTube chat. It's casual Friday. We don't how much review can I do on a 5-game slate? Bjorn Hagen. Good morning. Good morning. I was first in the 121 single entry until the Pirates 9th in the extra innings, ending up finishing 3rd, but the payout structure of that is pretty flat. Thanks for your help. Yeah. In the 121, let's go to that. Is it in here? We got it in here. Came in 3rd. Rubric. Is that your name? Finishing 3rd. Yeah, the payout structure is much better when it's 5, 3, 2. But like, this is fine. Much flatter. I like these. And I played this. I didn't finish well, but I mean, let's see. Rubric. Okay, so we got Colorado, 4, 3, 1. Okay, there you go. McClanahan, Eduardo Rodriguez, Owen Miller, Yu Chang, Ryan. I mean, a 3-man of not the greatest Indians 3-man. Then you got Crone, Rogers, Blackman made the lineup, and the Soler one off. Yeah, that's all you need. What Shane McClanahan with 13 points. I mean, you replace Shane McClanahan with any other pitcher, you win. You win. What's the winning lineup here? Right, McClanahan, right? 22%. And McKenzie. And a Pittsburgh stack. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 Atlanta pieces, Riley and Duvall, and Charlie Blackmon's 28 points. You don't need much, right? In these single entry things, 322 entries, 141 is the winner. We go to the large field stuff. Right, you need 156. You need a lot more. I love the 121. I played the 121 and the 250 ball 4. You don't have to go nuts. I mean, you still play contrarian, but you don't have to go nuts. Ricardo Ray says the Braves lineup delay hurt you. Why did it hurt you? You have to be playing. You have to plan for these things. Right? You put in your lineups the best way you can with the projected starting batting order, and then you swap. You had plenty of time. Only 2 games started at 7:10. It was 2 at 7:10, and then 2 at like 8:10, and then 1 in the last, and then 8:40 was the chorus game. You had plenty of time. The Braves lineup came out after the first 2 games started, but you still had plenty of leeway. I hope you don't play NBA. If you play NBA DFS, you'll hate it then. That small of a delay, like that we get annoyed by that. In MLB, we take it for granted. In NBA, you're switching to 800 times throughout the course of a night. Okay. So is this good enough for to this slate today? Whatever. We reviewed it. Atlanta got there. Okay, there you go. The mega chalk got there. Oh, okay. Not much to talk about. What I do want to talk about, I'm going to talk about something that's useful for any sport. But it's probably, I mean, I'm going to put it in the lens of MMA. So obviously it's Friday. We have a card tomorrow. But you could use it in other sport. You could use it for showdown a little, I guess. You could use it for golf, definitely. I mean, you can use it for any sport, basketball, whatever you want. So I'm going to show you. This is my little, if you want to call it a little model. It's not trying to predict anything. Okay. So this MMA card tomorrow, there's 10 fighters, there's 10 fights. And you're not going to play fighters in the same lineup together. So all I'm doing with this is using the odds. So I get these odds from a sports book, the win odds, the inside the distant odds, the round 1 odds. Here's the ownership from RotoGrinders currently. Obviously that may change. Here's the projection. And I just see what fighters are over-owned or under-owned based on their odds for like a 90+ point score. which a lot is tied to round one and inside the distance odds. So I take this and I see, okay, Morono is 19% owned, but he's like 25% chance of winning inside the distance. So he's under-owned. By how much? Now, this is what this rating metric is. So I kind of combine all these things together, weight them in a certain way to get some type of rating score where one is kind of the middle. To see, are they over or under owned? Now, obviously, on a card with only 10 fights, the ownership is going to be more inflated than the odds because there's only so many fighters to choose from. It's a small card. But based on this, Shore, based on just the RG stuff, Shore is a little, just a tad bit under-owned. Jourdain is a tad, like, no one's that far and away. Like, Morono is decently enough under-owned for his odds. Spivak down here at the bottom, compared to some of these other, underdog fighters. Yeah, we have someone like David Zawada, heavily over-owned. Molly McCann, heavily over-owned. I mean, it's not like she should be that owned, but still more owned than she should be. So I use this rating to determine which fighters provide you with the most amount of leverage in your lineup. So if I'm going to use Morono in a lineup, if I'm going to use Spivak in that lineup, it's like I could use Molly McCann in that lineup. So I'm getting all these points, these ratings, this leverage from these fighters to make up for the lack of it that I get from another fighter. So being that you roster 6 fighters, you're on the slate, you're not going to get to 6 points total, but you want like the highest leverage lineup would be whichever has the highest rating. It would be the highest leverage lineup. Is it the best lineup? No. But the one that supposedly would be the highest expected value lineup you could play. The high standard deviation. But the highest you could play. So I don't want to build lineups that have Zawada, Brunson, Erosa, Aspinall, Till, right? Their total rating, their total leverage rating would be low in comparison. So that's all this does. It's not predicting anything. It's not predicting fights or nothing. This is a tool to help me build lineups. And you could do this type of thing in other sports. If you want to create some type of spreadsheet and go like, what do I think their efficient ownership is? What is their ownership? And then come up with some type of rating. Right? A golfer. You go, well, this golfer is going to be 18% owned. I think they should be 22% owned. 22 divided by 18 is whatever. And give it a rating. This guy's 6% owned. I don't think he should be more than 4% owned. So that obviously they're over-owned. You can make it up. You can make up whatever you want. I mean, just the whole purpose is to get this number. And why do you want that number? To help you build lineups. That's all it's doing for you, is helping you build lineups. Because we have a way. Here's our MMA on Lineup HQ. So here's the projected ownership. Now, in most optimizers, including Lineup HQ, like if you just ran 20, like if I just ran 20 right now, it's going to give me the best median lineups, right? It's going to give me lineups that really don't have any leverage or nothing, right? It's going to be whatever the project, right? You're going to get Brunson, right? And we're not playing fighters against each other. So here you go. Brunson, Zawada, McCann, Jourdain, Aspinall, Shaw. This is from a median perspective, 400 median points, 243.3% ownership total. And most of the time, and we use this ownership, we compare the median to the ownership. And you go, well, this lineup is better than that lineup because it projects higher and it has lower ownership. But all these lineups are over. Like, if you're playing large field GPPs, like these lineups that contain both Shore and Aspinall, I mean, look at this. 53, 55, 40, 41, 32, 26. This lineup 7 over here, like this lineup will be duplicated at 49.9 will be duplicated 50, 100 times. More than that, maybe. Like this is not a profitable lineup. Look at all this ownership in the lineup. So what most people do to eliminate that, go like these lineups are too owned, right? 230, right? So maybe you separate Aspinall and Shaw. Sure. So let's do that. I'm going to show what most people do, which you can do. So I'm going to go, okay, I want to, separate the two my highest owned fighters, Aspinall and Shaw. Okay. And then let's build 20. Okay. Okay. We're getting it down, right? Right. We're not putting any constraints or nothing. But still, look, you still got 40%. Look, there's no fighter in this lineup that's under 30% owned. There's none. Large field GPP, this lineup's going to be duplicated a million times. Right? There's going to be duped. Like, look at these lineups. There's obviously they're owned because they project better. They're better. Yes, of course. I get it. Right? Molly McCann is the 25%. I mean, these lineups are to me not even playable. Maybe okay, here we go, 214. But even in this lineup still look how much ownership is in this lineup here at 214. All right, we go down here 214. We got anything else lower than that? 219. They still look. So let's say we go, okay, well, how do we make it even lower? Well, I'm going to set a cap on the total lineup ownership. I can go 200. The total of 200. And you build 20. So we don't get any of those lineups. So we don't have Shore and Aspinall together. We don't have anything that's over 200. So now we're getting now we're starting to get better. Now we're getting Dalcha in there. Now we're getting Jiyeon Kim in there at 19% ownership. Still spending most of the salary, right? And on a 10-fight card, a lot of the 50K lineups are going to be duped a bunch of times. Here's a 49.5. So maybe you don't mind this 49.5 lineup. So you know what people do? They go, okay, well, in order to get even less duplicated, I'm going to set my maximum to 49.5. So I can't even get those lineups. So now I'm doing multiple things. Separating Shore and Aspinall. I'm setting the max total lineup ownership to 200%. I'm setting the salary barrier, so it doesn't even spend. The most it could spend is 49.5. Now I'm running 20 lineups. Okay. So we get that lineup from before. Then we get this one with the 10% Sergey Spivak. Okay, now we're getting closer. Okay. Now we're getting kind of closer to what we want. Right? Get it right here. Right. Some 20% owned fighters. Okay. So now we're more in the realm, 49.5, 49.4, 49.2. So these would be more of the types of lineups that I'd be playing in tomorrow's MMA slate. Okay? By doing it that way. By finding, but what you're doing right now, I'm eliminating all the Shore Aspinall lines. I'm eliminating any lineup that has a total projected ownership of 200%. I'm eliminating anything that's 49.6, 49.7. Maybe there are lineups that are not as duplicated that could be in those. But I need to, based on how optimizers work, I need to set these hard caps like this just to get more of the lineups that I want. But there's another way. Okay? There's another way to do it. So we did it this way. This would be what I would consider the normal way. Right? This is the way that I used to do it. Right? This is the way I would do it in pretty much any other sport. Right? So you get these types of lineups. But what you can do, since these ratings that you do already built in the owners, or it already compensates for that ownership. Right? If I play Morono, I get a lot of leverage, right? He's only 19% owned. I'm not getting much Morono here because his median projection is not that good. I would have to bump him up on purpose in order to get more of him. Because his median fighting score type of projection. But I don't care about those. I care about building the lineups that I want to build. I want to build Morono in the lineups. Well, I could just make the exposures and kind of force them in. But if I upload this rating, as the projection, then obviously Morono is going to be the best projected. It's going to give me all of the, it's going to give me Morono, it's going to give me Spivak, it's going to give me Jourdain, it's going to give me a lot of those types of lineups. And it's actually going to give me less Aspinall. It's going to give me barely any Brunson. We can see here, look how much Brunson I'm probably getting, right? How much Brunson? Where's Brunson? Right, 5. I get 5 Brunson. All the Shore. I get tons of Shore. It's the highest projected median from a projection standpoint here. So what I will do is I upload, I take this, and what I also do, just to show you, this ownership, I'm going to leave in there. Okay, so I'm going to go to my custom projections. You can upload. You just take the sheet and upload it. Just change the headers. So the fantasy points right here. So you look 102 for F points is 102 for sure, right over here. I'm still going to keep the ownership just to show you. You don't have to. Okay, so now let's build 20 lines. If I just built, I don't touch anything. I have no build rules. My player groups, I'm going to get rid of. Get rid of the player group, right? It separates the two. I'm going to put it at 47 to 5,000. I'm going to take away I don't care about the total ownership. The top 20 lineups that I build should be the highest leverage lineups, right? If I go like this, 5.95. That's the closest it could come. Morono, Jourdain, Spivak, Martinez, Till, Dalcha, right? Take a look at the percent ownership because I'm leaving that in. 155. I was able to get a 155 lineup without, look, I didn't have to set any type of min max. I didn't have to set anything. No range of out, no nothing. We go look back at the lineups. I'm getting 155 total. 159, 159, 163, 161, 161, 165, 180, 165, 185, 144, 137, 144, these are the lineups that I want to play. And let's take a look at the salaries. 50. Here, look. This is the highest leverage lineup based on using the RG ownership, which can change. Obviously, you do this closer to lock when ownership gets updated. This is the highest leverage lineup, and it extends the entire salary. Had I done it the other way, I would have never gotten this lineup because I would have said I'm going to leave at least 500 on the table because that's the only way I could start controlling this stuff. So I would have missed this lineup. That includes a Morono, Spivak, Dalcha, Lewin, however you pronounce his name. And doesn't include Aspinall or Shore, right? Doesn't include the 2 highest owned fighters. In fact, it doesn't even include Bukauskas and Barrios, who is the next highest owned fighters. So it fades the top 4 owned fighters. But even in doing so, it's using 50,000 in salary. I don't mind this lineup. This lineup won't be duplicated. If at either this will be unique or only duped under 5 times, probably. But I would have never gotten it with the old way of doing it more bluntly. Look at 49.6, 49.9, 49.4, 50. Here's another 50,000. Look how many low-end fighters I'm playing. I'm playing Morono. I'm fading. Here's Shore. Shore's in the line. But I got everyone else. Other than Shore and Jourdain, everything else is 20 or below. I could spend 50,000 if I do that. Going through some of these, 49.9, 49.5, 50,000. But look at some of these 50,000 lineups that I would have never gotten by doing it the other way. 49.3, 49.1. The salary doesn't even matter at this point. I don't care. 48.9. Of course, I'm getting all the Morono, right? I mean, because he projects the best. He provides the most amount of leverage. So you're getting a lot of Morono Spivak. Okay? Not getting as much Aspinall because obviously Spivak's in there. So let's say I do want to get some Aspinall. Maybe I want to get 50% Aspinall and 50% Shore because they're the 2 chalkiest people, right? Just for 20 lineups. Okay? So let's take a look at these Aspinall lineups. What do these look like? Right? Probably with Morono. It's okay here. 175, 558. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get anything with Shore also. Here's Aspinall Shore. Okay, here we go. 187 total ownership. 49.8. Aspinall, Shore, Morono, but now it needs Arosa, Vendramini, and Dolce in there in order to balance out the fact that you're having two high-owned fighters there. 49.8 with two. Remember what we did before we uploaded this. I said, in order to prevent me from getting so many lineups that don't have enough leverage, I need to separate the two highest owned fighters, and I need to set it for 49.5 or below. Well, here's a lineup that has enough leverage, and it has both of those fighters, and it's over 49.5. So I wouldn't have been able to get this lineup had I made those constraints that way. Not saying that this is the best lineup or anything, but I'm already weighing this projection. All that projection is this rating, and it's helping me now build lineups that are going to be more unique. At that point, I don't care about median projections. And then you just build. If you don't want obviously, if you don't want 100% Barono, maybe you don't want more than 50% of a fighter at all. Right, you could do this individually. You run 20 lineups. So there you go. You're gonna get all. You're still gonna get a lot of Spivak, a lot of Jordan, a lot of Morano, right? It's only separated, but it's only 1v1s. And here you go. There's 20 lineups. Easy peasy. You don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about ownership totals or anything. I only left them here just to show you how different they are. Right? We go back to the first one. Let's see. Delete this build. Delete this build. We go back to build one. Right? We tried to build like that before, and we were still getting a little too chalky. I may have to set this down even further. Right? These are all 193s, 199s. These are all 155s, 150. So that maybe we have to go back and set that at 160. But then we're not going to be eliminating the ones that have, 50K in salary. So you do it the old way. It's tough. You build 100 lineups, and you find out that you're building a lot of lineups that are actually duped more than 10 or 20 times. And you're like, well, I mean, what else am I supposed to do? I'm leaving money on the table. I'm separating out chalky. I'm putting the 4 chalkiest guys in a group and only playing max two of them. Well, an easier way could be to build yourself some type of, put all the whatever. These could be golfers. Remember, this could be anything. These could be stacks in baseball. These could be NFL. This could be especially the showdown. Like, how do I build properly leveraged showdown lineups for NFL? Well, who's higher owned and lower owned? A lot of times you're doing that and you're using the exposures to do it. Right? So let's say we go back to, let's go back to the normal projections, right? Just to use whatever's the normal stuff in here. So let's say you want to try to duplicate that, right? We're just going to leave everything the way it is. 20 lineups. So you'd look at this and you go, okay, I want a lot of Morono, I want a lot of Jordan, and I want a lot of Spivak, right? So you'd go in here and you go, well, I want, but because it's not going to give you this with the median projection. So I'm like, I want 50 of this. I want 50 of Spivak. I want 50 of Jordan, right? And then you run it. But it's still going to try to jam in the bet. It's trying to jam in everyone. Spivak, Morano, take a look at Morano. Like this lineup, 216, like this lineup is still not different enough. Well, it's going to give you Pemblett and Jordan. And so you go, okay, well, in order for me to not get this lineup, I only want to play 10% Shore, and I only want to play 10% Brunson, and only 10% Pemblett, and 10% Aspinall, and let's see what happens. And you're still, and look at you're still getting lineups that are way too owned. Right here, maybe this one, maybe 174, 169, maybe these. So if you're doing it this way, a lot of times you're building, like even for 20 lineups, I'm going to build 100 and try to weed out the ones that are good enough. But look at what I did before. I just used the rate. I put these exposures I don't need anymore. It's already going to purposely give me more of that. So even though they're not the projection, once you've decided on a strategy, you're using the lineup HQ, you're using an optimizer as a tool to just efficiently build more lineups. So you don't have to hand build one by one. Well, why don't you just hack it? Just hack it. Come up with your own metric that already determines that, and then just put it in. This is how I build now. I built the first way that I showed you is how I built for over a year playing MMA. Trying to get that, get it down, weed this out, separate these guys. And I would get enough. I would get uniques, but I would also get a lot of garbage. Not garbage. I mean, just like lineups that just we're not, for large field GPP, we're not plus EV. Now that I'm doing it this way, I'm getting way more lineups. I do get dupes. I mean, I'm not looking for all my lineups to be unique, to be clear. If I play 100, I'm playing 120 lineups tomorrow. I may have 40 uniques. But like the other 80 lineups are typically like 70 of them are under 5. Right? It's not like they're duped 70 times. I don't mind that. So like my goal is not to get like all uniques. There'd be a different process for that. But my lineups are more likely to be unique or close to unique by doing it this way. I hope you understand that's what the purpose of this sheet is. A lot of people ask me for my MMA model. Like it's not a model. Well, it is. You could do the same exact thing that I'm doing. Compare the odds to the ownership and then divide it. There you go. Who's over and under owned? Even if you just go by inside the distance odds, and that's it. Well, this guy's, look, 48% probability inside the distance, 53% though. Close, it's close. 56% inside the distance, 55% though. So that's like a kind of efficient, right? That's why his rating is closer to 1. So Wada is 23% chance inside the distance, 33% don't. So he's over-owned for winning inside the distance, which is more correlated to 90 to 100 point scores. So you could do the same exact thing. And go, and you'll find that, Morano, even though he has the lowest inside the distance odds for all the favorites, like we see Morano and maybe Martinez. Well, when he does win inside the distance, you're going to get so much leverage over everyone, right? Especially when Zawada, his opponent, is going to be 33% owned. So, like, it makes complete sense why he would be the highest rated fighter here. Not because I think he's going to win or he's going to put up a lot of... It has nothing to do with his score. I get more leverage by playing Morano. That's all I know. And then now when I play him, I can play other fighters and build lineups that make sense much quicker. That old process from before sometimes would take me an hour. Okay, I got to do this. Let me separate these things. Let me do that. Let me build 300 lineups and then take out the ones that I don't want. Do that. This new process, 5 minutes. Typically, I build my MMA lineups in 5 to 10 minutes, maybe. I don't just press the build button and go, whatever it gives me. I go, okay, well, so I'm still on this tomorrow's slate, I'm going to have exposure to every fighter on the slate in 120 lineups. Even the worst rated, even like Brunson or Zawada or Molly McCann. I may still have 10%. 8%, 12%, something down there, something. I could still make plus EV lineups with them, but most of those lineups are going to have like Morano and Jourdain and Spivak in them. It's because it's going to need to have those guys in them to make up for such low, negative leverage you get from those fights. But I'll still have them. Just won't have as many lineups with them. And this is what helps me do it. So a lot of people look at the model and go, oh, so you're telling me Morano is the best play on the slate. I go, well, it's the best play for leverage. That's it. Is he going to win? I don't know. That's what the odds here are for. I don't know. From a projection standpoint, Jack Shore is the best play on the slate. And that makes sense. But there are lineups that could win that don't have him. But you could even look over here Jack Shore, probably going to be one of the highest owned fighters. I mean, he's still positive. According to this, based on RG ownership, he's still positive. He's still slightly positive. I mean, look, compared to the rest of he's 1, 2, 3. He's the 4th highest rated fighter on the slate, and he will be the most expensive and highest owned. Well, it's primarily because he's 9,100 and he's a minus 550 favorite with plus 110 inside the distance odds. Like, he probably should be 60 to 65% though. Probably should be around there. You got Aspinall there also. So, like, if we change this ownership right here, like if we made this, let's say we made this 56, 55, 54, like 54 and 50, 48, 50, let's go up. Yeah, something like that. Like, that would make it more efficient if it was that. But a lot of these fighters are overowned only because you got to play 6 of them. So a lot of these fighters are going to be overowned compared to their ITD odds. You can help it, but not play. You got to play an underdog. You got to play someone. You got to build a 6-man roster. So I hope that helps you. I hope you could do something like this, some type of process like this for any sport. However way it works for you, where you're replacing the projection with some type of number that helps you build lineups better. Like yesterday, if you wanted to, I'm going to put numbers on all the Braves, low numbers on all the Braves, and high numbers on all the Pirates, or whatever, some low-owned team. You could do that. Doesn't have to be exact even. So how do I make it that I know this team doesn't project well, but it provides, the Red Sox yesterday. I played 3 Red Sox lineups against McClanahan. Like, if you yesterday in the optimizer, if the projections for Schwarber or Devers were not going to be good, you would have to go in and force in Boston Red Sox exposure in order to get it, or you download all the projections and you change them. Right? You go, okay, I'm going to bump down all the Braves. I'm going to bump up all the Red Sox. Then you put it back, right? I mean, you could do that in line of HQ. But if you wanted to assign some type of metric, I mean, let's say as simple. I'm not saying this is the perfect way of doing it. Let's say you have a 10-point scale on stacks, right? And you go based on the leverage, based on how over or under owned they are. Something like Slate IQ. You go in there, what's the leverage number? Even that, I guess. You use that. You go, okay, I'm going to rate the Braves 4. And you just give all the Braves 4. Doesn't matter who they are. They're all project the same. What does it matter? In the Red Sox, you give an 8 to. In the Royals, you give a 6 to. In the Pirates, you give a 7 to. You rate all the teams, and then you upload it back. And now all those players have those numbers on. And then you build the line. Then, obviously, now that the Red Sox have an 8-point projection, if you don't change anything, you're going to get 20 Red Sox stats. You're barely going to get the Braves. And then you go from there. And then you hack the optimizer to give it the lines that you want to build. You can do it that way. Obviously, in team sports like that, it's less likely only because of the correlation, because different batters are going to be worth differently. I mean, it's not like golf or MMA, where they're just the golfers. You're not there's Freddie Freeman versus Gil Heredia is a difference. But you could maybe even change that. So I'm going to rate the Braves a 4, but I'm going to give Freeman a 7 and Vogt I'll give a 3, and you change all the projections out. You could do it that way. If your goal is to just build like kind of 5-3 or 4-4 type of lineups, it'll just give you the 2 stacks. The team that projects your 8-point team could be mixed with now the Braves, right? Because you're making up the points there and getting the high-owned team that you're getting negative leverage from. Now you can. But if you're going to play, the Rockies, who you rate as a 3, you're not going to get Rockies Braves lineups anymore, right? Because the projections the projections of those teams are going to be low. And we know that the optimizer is essentially one big knapsack problem. It's just going to try to give you whatever you put in that column, that F points column. It's just going to try to jam in as much salary and give you as many points as possible from that column. And there you go. So I wanted to show that. You could use lineup. You could use lineup HQ. You could use these tools any way you want to use them. Anyway, if it accomplishes the goal that you want. Let's see. Jonathan Souza says tomorrow should be your day for MMA super fadeable main event. Yes, because Darren Till, what he's going to throw like 3 punches around, but maybe he knocks him out. You never know. Leg to 187. I'm just going through. I know that some of these are for a while ago, but I go through the entire YouTube chat. If Patty has a 41 chance at a finish, are we comparing it to ownership essentially to find leverage spot? Yes. That's essentially what I'm doing. Patty Pimblett, 168, 22% in the first round, 37% overall, 61% chance to win. If he's going to be 41% owned, he's going to be over-owned. You're not wildly over-owned, but I mean, in comparison, because a lot of these mid-range are going to be over-owned. Only because it's a 10-fight card. See, they're all going to be inflated to some extent. So actually, Pimblett is it's not the worst, but he is going to be over at 41%. If he was, I mean, you change this to 31%, and now he's a much better play, right? But if he's going to be 41, then he's more over-owned. You'd rather play Ji-Yeon Kim, who's only going to be 20% owned. Well, he only has a 16% chance at a finish, but in comparison to her ownership, from a mathematical perspective, would be a higher expected value play in a vacuum. So that is essentially what I'm doing with this sheet. Let's see. If people are talking about tennis, I would assume tennis is like this also. Right? Very, very binary. Very similar to MMA. That's why I say golf. Golf, obviously there's no matchups in golf. But golf, you could do the same thing. I mean, in all the sports, you could do the same thing. It's just easier in sports where you don't have to worry about correlations of lineups and, how they interact with one another. Captains and that type of stuff. And like PGA, you could go, okay, I'm going to take all the golfers. I'm going to put their chances of, top 10 finish, top 10, top 20, and then compare it to the ownership. And then just give me, some type of like a rating. And then use that number to use in your optimizer. Tennis, you could do the same thing. You do right? It's very similar to MMA because only one person can win the match. And you do that. And then you take the number and you put that in. Instead of trying to hack through using exposures and do like the process I did in the very beginning, it's harder to work with it. And you can miss lineups that are profitable. Like I said before, it's like, oh, well, I'm going to separate the 2 highest owned guys and leave 500 on the table. And we saw, look at this. There are lineups that have those 2 guys in the lineup and use 50,000 in salary that are good, that are fine, that you could play, that can be profitable. So I'm just showing you how you can use the tools. You can use lineup HQ any way you want. You get that with combo premium, any premium, NFL premium, doesn't matter. Click on the link in the description, get $10 off your first month. Going through the YouTube chat some more. If you have any questions before we get out of here on Casual Fridays, we got what, a 14-game baseball slate later today? What the hell is going on? I don't even know. Glenn Otto, Kyle Gibson. Okay, this is going to be a great slate. This is a slate to skip out on when Nestor Cortez is projecting as one of the higher owned pitchers. I may not even play tonight. May not even play. Just take the night off. Kind of getting sick of baseball. But we got football coming up. We got NFL coming up next week. And for all those that are asking questions about NFL, we got so much time for NFL. Okay, so much. We're gonna have so much time for NFL. Don't worry. I'll probably be going over lineup HQ for NFL probably 800 times a week. So you're not gonna miss anything. But we're going to talk about Showdown. Like, you know, on the days that we have Showdown, we could talk about some Showdown. We could review Showdown lineups from the day before. On Tuesdays, we could talk about what happened at Monday's Showdown, right? On Mondays, James will be here. We'll be reviewing the Sunday slate. And then we could talk about, you know, the Thursday Showdown, the Sunday slate on, you know, later in the week. And I mean, it's the NFL is everyone plays NFL. There'll be tons of time. You can get sick of me. We're going to be doing the same things over and over and over again. Legna 187 on best fight odds. How do you find the round run probability? By going to the round run, by just going to it. What's so complicated? Okay, so this is bestfightodds.com. Okay, let it load. So here you go, Till Brunson. The props, these arrows, right? So you go here. Brunson wins inside the distance, 300. Till wins inside the distance, plus 125. Till wins in round one, 350. Brunson wins in round one, 750. There you go. So go to each individual fight. So you just go fighter wins in round one. Fighter wins in round one. Fighter wins inside distance. There's all these sports books here. You want to go, you're going to Martinez Rojo, right? Martinez wins in round one, plus 450, 445. Rojo wins in round one, 675. There, that's it. Not that complicated. Let's see. Blender, ever play League of Legends? No. I think I played one slate. I played one League of Legends slate. It was like a VIP free roll or something like that. I just stacked two teams and I cashed. That's all I did. I didn't know anything. But the correlation in League of Legends is really high. So most likely you're stacking two teams and that's it. You're done. I think the R between all the players on the same team is like the highest of any DFS sport. So if you're not stacking, you ain't winning. Baker Helton says you must be weighing the projection decently high because Spivak's leverage ratings are the highest by a decent amount, but his rating isn't the highest. Well, it's all on a 1-point scale. I mean, look at him in comparison to all the other dogs. Like he's way higher rated. It's all on a scale where 1 is the center. Okay. So like, look at all this green, but I mean, his projection is also low. I mean, he's the second worst shot at winning. Now, in comparison to all these others, he's the nut. He's going to show up in so many lineups. Like I said, I don't care. I don't care about the exact number. I care about the numbers in relation to one another. So 103 is like, oh, well, he's not that high. No, he's extremely high. When Rosa's 0.62 and Shalinian's 0.64 and Rojo is 0.60, it's extremely high. He's going to show up in like everywhere. If his rating was 1.5, it wouldn't change it. What would it change? It wouldn't even change it. He's going to show up more than anything else. That's all it's supposed to do is compare fighters relatively to another and help me build lineups. So you're not going to see ratings. You're never see a rating that's like 1.8, 2.0 on large cards, maybe. On a 15 fight card, I've had guys with 1.8, 1.9. Guys that go just completely overlooked because there's like two or three fighters in that range that like everyone's playing. Leg to 187. How do you convert odds into percentage points? Well, you could do it mathematically. There's also plenty of odds calculators, like aceodds.com. You can just Google odds converter. If you don't know the formula, or just Google the odds converter formula. and put it into Excel. Like, look, American odds of 150 is 40%. I mean, that's what it is. American odds of 100 are 50%. 200 is 33%. 300 is 25%. 400 is 20%. Right? Minus 200 is 66.7%. Right? So there you go. Right? You could use a converter, or you could plug in the formula. Right? You can take it. Feel free. Take a screenshot. There you go. Right. You could even odds, American odds converter, formula. Right. You could find there are plenty of places. I mean, this is ridiculous. Just put that into Excel. You're done. There you go. You're done. This is all simple math. This isn't complicated. None of this is complicated math. None of it is. I could have made this in the 7th grade. Okay. In order to make this sheet, in order to make this exact sheet, you don't need anything more than 7th grade math. At least for me, I don't know. If you were in a remedial class, I don't know. At least for me, I could have done this in the 7th grade. Probably even 6th grade, maybe. There's nothing complicated here. Edward Brown says the public school system has failed you terribly. Okie doke. So we got Grinders Live coming up later today. We got crunch time for premium members. Next week starts it's the NFL. It's the road to NFL DFS. Where the schedules come out. There's tons of content every single day. Every single day. I'll be on every single day, right? Like I normally am. I'll be on Monday nights and Thursday nights for Showdown. So like 7:15, 7:30, do like a before lock type of analysis. I'll be on with Will on Mondays and Justin Esteel Cards on Thursdays. I'll be on Fridays for the Advanced Sports Analytics Show. That is back with Stuart Gibson and Brandon Adams and me. Go through advanced lineup construction and correlation strategies and all that stuff. I don't believe is a live show, but that's posted afterwards. It'll be posted Friday afternoons and also on the podcast feed, the Daily Fantasy Football podcast feed for RotoGrinders. And then we got so many other shows: Tourney Takes, the Guildcast, the Soulcast. Got the Ownership Report, the Blitz. There's tons of shows, tons of content. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell. You'll know when anything goes live. You'll know when it goes live. And also, you can download the RotoGrinders app on your phone. That could tell you when something's live. Also, you can listen to just the audio. If you're on the go, you don't have to even be here on YouTube. So do that. And hopefully we all have a great NFL DFS season. So we'll be talking about that more next week because I'm here for you guys, answering your questions in the YouTube chat Mondays through Fridays, 11 o'clock Eastern, on the DFS pregame show on RotoGrinders.com.